Good morning. How are you?
I'm well. So, Rick, let's just try to figure out what's going on here between the Cruz and Carson campaigns.
Sure.
For people who don't know the history, there was this erroneous message that your camp put out that Ben Carson, after the Iowa caucuses, was going to be getting out of the race. It was a misunderstanding. And your camp, in fact, Senator Ted Cruz apologized for it. Ben Carson says that he accepted that apology, but it doesn't sound as though it's exactly gone away. Let me read to you the statement that Ben Carson put out about all of this. He says, these dirty tricks, these dirty tricks, political tactics, are part of the reason Dr. Carson got into this race and reflect the Washington values of win at all cost, regardless of the damage to the country, which he is trying to change. This incident further demonstrates that we need an individual who is not a politician to lead and to heal our nation, not someone driven by ambition. What's your response to his apology that is somewhat barbed?
Well, first, let's go through what happened. CNN's Chris Moody reported out that Ben Carson was not immediately going to go to New Hampshire or South Carolina. In fact, was going to go to Florida for a couple days of R&R, or rest and relaxation, and then he was going to attend a prayer breakfast in D.C. That's a significant campaign development. And people, when people say they're not going to come to New Hampshire immediately and begin a campaign, as most of the campaigns have done, or go to South Carolina, that's an indication, and that's a worthy news development. We share new developments with the campaign all the time. In fact, when Marco Rubio said that he supported criminal illegal aliens staying in the country, we reported that to all of our surrogates and campaigns, so people would communicate that. Now, that was all happening right as the caucuses were going on. In fact, I learned about what Dr. Carson had said during the caucus, and it may be that some of the surrogates or some of our caucus precinct captains had heard what we had sent around to the entire campaign and went too far, meaning interpreting that he was going to Florida for rest and relaxation instead of campaigning here in New Hampshire, as somehow he was dropping out of the race. We never indicated that he was dropping out of the race as a campaign, and we never indicated somehow he was stepping back or suspending his campaign. That's all misinformation. If someone who had represented the Cruz campaign had indeed said that Carson was dropping out, that was factually in error, that was wrong, and that's what we apologize for.
Okay, but let's talk about his acceptance of your apology, where he's basically saying not someone driven by ambition. That sounds like a direct reference to Ted Cruz. And he says these dirty tricks, political tactics, that sounds like a direct reference to your campaign. How are you responding?
Well, it wasn't a dirty trick, and Ted Cruz called Dr. Carson and did apologize, and Dr. Carson accepted his apology. We're not going to return in kind. The accusation was a dirty trick. There was no dirty trick. We simply reported an item that CNN itself had reported out and conveyed it exactly the way it was reported out as CNN does. We do that all the time. There are dozens of articles come out every single day, and we share them throughout the campaign so that everybody understands what's going on in the campaign.
Yeah,
and this was just another one of those items.
And just to be clear, Chris Moody, CNN's Chris Moody, tweeted that out, but he simultaneously, I mean like a minute later, tweeted out, Ben Carson's campaign tells me he plans to stay in the race beyond Iowa, no matter what the results are tonight. So somehow your campaign had missed that.
That's correct. No. We never communicated that he was stepping out of the race. We reported exactly what Chris Moody said, saying he was not coming to New Hampshire. In other words, he was, instead of going to New Hampshire, this is a little like the playoff games, right? We're in the playoff games, and we want to go to the Super Bowl, but instead of going to the playoff games, you decide not to go to the playoff game. It's a hard thing to expect to go to the Super Bowl if you're not going to play in the playoff game. So all we did is report out that Dr. Carson was, just as Chris Moody did, was going to Florida and then going to D.C. and not to New Hampshire or South Carolina. That's significant, and that's why Chris put it out. And so we shared that with the campaign. But in no case did we ever say he was not going to compete or he was going to suspend his campaign. If somebody took it too far, then that's what we apologize for. But the campaign certainly didn't do that.
Dr. Carson was also calling for whoever was responsible in your camp to lose their job for that misunderstanding. Will that happen?
Well, there was no misunderstanding. What the campaign reported out was exactly what Chris Moody put it out about what Dr. Carson was doing. So I'm a little lost in what he's calling for.
Okay.